All right. Hi, guys. This is Kristian Kirapas, founder and president of Web3 Philippines. Welcome to our pilot episode for Web3 Classroom.
Nice.
In this event, we have here another blockchain engineer who's currently behind the back, is now going to show up in a while. Alvin Reyes, who is the founder of AR Data Technologies. And in this session, we're
Oh.
going to talk about Web3 Tech Startups. Bro, Alvin, kumusta dyan?
Hi, I'm good. I thought wala ako sa background. I thought wala akong video. Sorry about that. But yeah, I mean, it's all good here. It's 8 a.m. here in Toronto.
Mm.
Um, yeah, just doing some day-to-day stuff, man.
That's a work, basically, bro. Day-to-day stuff means lots of work.
Lots of work, busy. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was just like enumerating lahat ng ginawa ko la kahapon. Kaya parang medyo na-stuck ako and I
Mm-mm.
was like, oh man, yeah, day to day, summary.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna do the same today, right? So I'm just gonna do the same sort of work
The
today.
hustle,
So
no, every
it's all
day.
good. Yeah. Yeah. All good,
Mm.
man. All everyday grinding. Yeah.
All right. So I know you're really busy, right? I know that firsthand.
Yep.
So I get that. So today, in order to maximize this 1 hour in Web3 Classroom, and as you know, Web3 Classroom's goal is to educate the masses as fast as possible at scale. That's why we're doing
Mm-hmm.
this every week at 8
Mm-hmm.
p.m. PHT Thursdays in Web3 Philippines YouTube channel. Guys, follow Web3 Philippines sa Facebook page. Kaya today, pag-uusapan natin is that Web3 tech startups in general, we're not just going to talk about how they're different from normal tech startups, but we're going to talk about why it's a good idea or a bad idea to get into tech startups. And if they get into tech startups, what would they need? All right. So I
Mm-hmm.
think when it comes to Web3 tech startups, bro, Alvin, what do you think or what do you believe is the difference now or why people should try to venture into Web3 tech startups in general?
Uh,
As an intro, kumbaga sa mga
Web3.
students natin ngayon.
Uh, I mean, Web3 is a this new cutting edge technology, right? And everyone is like sort of buzzing about. Pero there's
Mm.
just a lot of use case that you can build upon this Web3 tech, and I think these use cases are sort of very important in the next sort of step into our digitalization, right? As a human, as in the
Mm.
humanity, basically. Like to me personally, parang if your Web3 technologies will is sort of like different because it's there's certain aspects that you can do, and that's different from the traditional sort of web 2 like tech type of tech startups, right? Because
Mm.
like web 3 leverages decentralization. You have
Mm.
blockchain technologies that are like really sort of doing a lot of innovations now in this space.
Mm.
And for anyone who is building, like let's say a tech startup, right? If you're looking at Web3, this is really a good opportunity and a really good time to to leverage those types of technologies or to
Mm.
leverage that cutting edge tech. Like most of the startups of the Web3 startups today are they're dealing with problems that we haven't really dealt before. Like for example,
Mm.
decentralized storage, decentralized finance,
Mm.
yung supply chain transparency solutions, privacy enhancing solutions,
Mm.
decentralized storage networks, compute
Mm.
networks, right? So these are things that weren't really possible before. And it's
Mm.
not really something that we're tackling before with Web 2. And now it's possible because of the invention of decentralized tech, right? The Bitcoin
Mm.
itself is one of the first use case.
Mm.
And there's just like a myriad of use case that you can do. So you can build upon. Like, so it's like a different type of tech, pero you have different use cases, different sort of verticals
Mm.
that you can build
Mm.
upon.
Ayun. I love
Yeah,
that.
and I think like
Use
when
cases.
you're use cases. So when you're so I think this is a great opportunity for anyone who wants to build a Web3 or a tech startup, really, because you have
Mm.
the platform, you have the tech stack. In a way, you now have the maturity as well because a lot of people knows about Web3.
Mm. Kahit
We're not
papaano.
like kahit papano, there's like people who are acknowledging it.
Mhm.
And if you are positioning yourself as a Web3 tech startup, you're in a
Mm.
unique position as well. Like you're like not a lot of
Mm.
tech startups knows how Web3. They're still discovering it.
Mm.
They're still trying to learn it. So yeah, yeah. So I think leveraging this new tech is good. And if anyone who wants to build a tech startup, I would say
Mm.
it's really a good investment
Greenfield,
for Web3. Yep.
blue ocean, no?
Yeah,
So
blue ocean field. Yeah.
since
Yeah.
we're in a blue ocean,
Mhm.
technically when we define blue ocean, it's like untapped, unexplored seas wherein we can really capture value because there's a lot of chaos, a lot of inefficiencies. So we can build
Mhm.
companies, we can build products,
Products.
services,
Yeah.
we can
Mhm.
offer value to the world. And there's so much we can pick from when it comes
Mhm.
to Web3 because it's new. You mentioned use case or vertical, so that's a part I'm really curious about, or at least want us to share it with our students today in Web3 Classroom because when we talk Web3 use cases, not a lot of people think parang okay, it's just crypto, NFT trading, meme
Yep.
coins, right? That's the first thing
Mhm.
people would think about when they think about Web3, and especially in the Philippines, usually scam ang associations nila with crypto and when it comes to Web3 and blockchain. But what I what I want our students today to be able to get from this session is that ano ba yung tingin mong use cases, bro, that a lot of our at least advocates or at least those who are enthusiastic about Web3 o kahit yung mga hindi alam yung Web3 don't know about
Mhm.
what's beyond the NFTs, cryptos and meme coins. So
Mm.
that's a really good topic.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so foundationally kasi blockchain is in a way it is cryptography, right? It's digital
Mm,
cryptography. It's digital data. And one of the things that like blockchain sort of introduced onto the digital data is the privacy and security enhancements, right? So you now have a way to create to put data on a digital space in a tamper proof and tamper evident storage, right? Like data store. So you now have a way to create like to store all of these events or log these events in a in a immutable ledger, an immutable storage. So and if you think about like the aspect of that technology, there's just a tons of use case in data privacy and data security, right? So in digital identity, creating a digital footprint. So aside from the cryptocurrency, you can actually use it for digital signatures, right? So if you're
mm,
building like a document-based digital signatures and you want to have a tamper-proof system where
mm,
you're not going to be worried about that signature being tampered with, then you can
mm,
actually back that solution with a blockchain-based or a decentralized storage, decentralized tech backend, right? So
mm,
digital identity is also one of them. So each blockchain, as you all know, or maybe some of you might not know, is it will always have an identity, like a public
mm,
key infrastructure, and you will always get assigned with a specific address, right? And that address is only because so assigned to you. So it's very similar.
mm,
So the key sort of pairing is very similar to when you're accessing a secure socket or SSL website, HTTPS website. So every time,
mm,
so a digital identity is one of those use case na I think like it's not like crypto, but it
mm,
utilizes the same cryptographic proof and it utilizes the
mm,
same parang data enhancement and data privacy that the blockchain imposes
mm,
in any data that it stores. So
mm,
digital ID, you have the signature, tokenization of these assets, right? Physical assets into actual asset token is also one use case.
mm,
And I know that's very broad, but if you think about it, like if you can actually build, let's say, para a real estate application, right, where you can have
mm,
like each of these real estate property to be tokenized. So that's one
mm,
like one use case as well. Any sort of NFTs, right? So there are known NFTs. They are known for like images, right? So images
mm,
or digital assets that we play or we sort of
mm,
gather or we collect. But if you think about it, you can actually associate an NFT token in a real to a real world asset, right? And then you can
mm,
use that to create some sort of authentic ownership of a specific asset,
mm,
right? That's more important than, for example, a property or for example like a collectible that's very
Mm.
valuable, right? So voting system, like there's also one use case, right? So if you want to create like a more sort of and transparent and tamper proof and tamper evident voting system, so
Mm.
blockchain is a perfect use case for that. So Web3 tech is a perfect
Mm.
use case for that. Any type of use case where it's important that documents are not tampered with. So
Mm.
decentralized storage is like IPFS. I'm on the decentralized storage side, and I'm like so any, like for example confidential data or private data, or let's say your
Mm.
medical information, or let's say your parang your digital ID information can also and also be routed dun sa mga sa decentralized storage. So
Mm.
lots of use case that you can do.
Mm.
Yeah, so as a
Lots
tech
of
startup,
on-chain, no?
as on chain, yeah.
Mm.
It's just really like the mindset would have to be like, what can I like what the date the if you're gonna a Web3 tech startup, like the data, like you're building on top of decent of a platform or of a tech stack where the data will not be tampered with, right? So immutability,
Mm.
data authenticity, data ownership. So those types
Mm.
of use cases. So
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
So since we're in data ownership,
Mm-hmm,
data identity, yung mga digital identities, and then you've also mentioned real estate, bro. I really like na mention mo yung real estate. Eh. A
mm-hmm.
lot of people, when it comes to these blockchain services, in my experience, a lot of people right now are wanting to integrate blockchain for real estate. So
Right.
it's a good idea to let's have a short at least discussion on ano yung use
Mm-hmm.
ng Web3 and blockchain technology for that. So people would understand, okay, how to use blockchain tech and technology, and for them to know na possible na siya. Right? Are you guys in AR data technologies, are you guys capable of building the real estate tokenized
Mm.
version na for tech startups, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yun.
Yeah,
So
we
how
are.
about
Yeah,
that?
we do. Yeah.
How do you
So
think is the use case, bro, for that?
so real estate, right? It's in a way very straightforward to create a token nowadays. Like for us, like when you're building, let's say when you want to build a real estate app, right?
Mm.
And let's say the use case is okay. I want either you use the blockchain as a settlement layer, so meaning you want to transact on chain, or you can just use the blockchain as a like a asset representation like layer,
Mm.
like a tokenization layer lang din siya. So that means basically representing one property or multiple property via
Mm.
token, right? And so the what we normally do is that we like, we would always assume that yeah, okay, you're gonna tokenize the property itself, and then you can
Mm.
have a use case where pwedeng yung token na yun can be owned by several people. So we call it like a
Mm.
fractional sort of ownership,
Fractional. Mm.
where like if this token or if this representation of property is sold to, like as I say, a company or an organization or a group of people, then they
Mm.
will have sort of a copy as well of the token itself, like the token,
Mm.
and also a representation that this private key or this person, right, this
Mm.
address has ownership of this specific property as well. So it's very
Mm.
very
Mm.
applicable din siya for not just for buying and selling, but for also rentals as well for properties. Let's say for example, if you're renting out
Bro,
like
yeah,
yeah,
bro. Let's go to that.
eh,
That's very interesting yung rental. I think
yeah.
it's good for people to know paano ba magagamit yung rental. And then number two, para lang ma-connect natin at least sa ano yung how we do things today. Kasi diba, usually in real estate right now, you sign a paper, you get
Oh
it
yeah.
notarized, at least my legal grounding.
Mm-hmm.
I want
Yep.
us to discuss at least paano siya, how is blockchain real estate integrated with blockchain different from how we do things today na yung
Mhm.
documents, tapos
Mm. Yeah.
unauthorized,
So
legal,
yeah.
right?
So I guess like kasi sa right now sa real estate, right? So the current way right now is you have paperworks, right? You have
Mm.
tons of like land transfer title is like hard copies. You have to get
Mm-hmm.
approved, you have to get audited. All of the paperwork basically is still hard coded. Even here hard like hard bound like here even here in like in Canada, ganun pa rin naman yung process. You
Mm.
would still have to sign papers in person. You would still have to sign papers in front of a witness and lawyers and all, and also your real
Mm.
estate agents, right? So we can actually sort of automate a lot of this stuff with with blockchain, right? Technically you can automate it with the current technologies, right? But with blockchain, you can actually create like an authenticity layer with your
Mm.
automation, right? Because when you are signing documents, if you're going to use, let's say, for example, a digital signature based on your blockchain private key or addresses, you're actually creating a state on chain, right? Which is immutable, right? Which is tamper proof, right? So, meaning when
Mm.
you sign a document using your key, that means like it can be represented as something that's also like that's concrete na, like it's something that's persisted on chain, that event happened, right?
Mm.
So in a way there is a level of like you can automate it. At the same time, the technology, the blockchain technology itself can create that authentic data that's persisted on chain.
Mm.
So it's a
May proof na,
you now have,
no?
yeah, you now have a tamper proof. Yeah, you
Mm.
now have a proof that yeah, okay, this happened. You now have this
And sa'yo
event
to.
that's persisted on chain, and you did,
Mm.
you signed it with your private key, right? So, and when you sign it,
Mm.
you can actually create like a mobile application, like an application or a web app that you
Mm.
can use like to sign those documents, right? So,
Mm.
it's more so, in a the current like the current web 2 technologies, like wow yung like yeah it's good. You can you can automate the entire process with it, but the web 3 side of it, the web 3 is the one that's imposing that authenticity and
Mm.
security of that transaction, right?
Mm.
Of that entire
Mm.
end-to-end transaction of a real estate. So it's much
So
more
parang ano
secure,
siya, bro,
and then you
no?
have like tokenization. Huh?
It's like
Sorry.
I mean the way you explain it, I see it as like a digital law or parang
Yeah,
National
you can
Housing
say that.
Authority na
Yep.
para sa
Mm.
mundo. Gano'n na if you have
Yeah, yeah.
a digital document, yung National Housing Authority, parang yung blockchain na siya, no? In a way
Mm.
na if you have a document or you have an identity, you register with the blockchain, tapos yung Global Housing Authority, i-register niya identity mo, i-register
Mm.
niya yung deeds mo, and all of this will happen
Yeah, and it's
digitally.
transparent. And it's transparent, right?
Yung
Like
kita.
it's not transparent, and it's also tamper proof. Yun yung pinaka-importante in terms of real estate. Eh. Kasi maraming real estate, maraming properties na parang
Baka lugar.
I mean, may mga cases kasi na parang okay,
Oo.
may real estate property and they're arguing who is the actual owner. Right? Sino yung
Mm.
ganito, sino ganyan. Ako may paper ako. May ganyan, may ganito, may paper si ganito. Yung owner
May
wants ito,
paper
yung
rin.
claim, right? Ganyan. Puro paper, right? So parang hindi siya like,
Ah,
it's like nowadays it's questionable kung meron kang parang
mm.
papel lang right? So parang okay,
Mm.
parang paper tapos pina-notarize mo, and then I mean anyone, 'di ba? So parang especially sa case natin
Mm.
diyan, 'di ba? Sa atin diyan sa so sa Philippines. So parang if you build a foundation where all of these are tokenized and on chain, you actually have a trail of what happened,
Mm.
right? Like eventually, like of course, it's not gonna solve yung like previous yung history, right? Because blockchain wasn't there before when we started owning properties. But if we start now,
Mm.
you can actually create like a trail of this trail of ownership, and you will prevent that same issue that we're experiencing right now with real estate, right? With the
Mm.
issue with ownership. So if you move forward with that type of solution, right, yung blockchain based solution, you now have you'll eventually have that immutable trail, right? And you can
Mm.
see, okay, what happened to this property like 10 years ago, or 20 years
Mm.
ago, right? So
Oo.
it's a, you know, it's a good
That's
innovation.
beautiful.
It's really great. So
Mm.
parang it's also transparent then. So yeah.
Mm. Ayun. So, kumbaga parang napakaganda niya kasi hindi mo na siya magugulo eh. It's like you can't trick it.
No.
It's like it's something that's so like as if it's a digital law na you can if you use it if you have a same copy you can easily verify na okay si Alvin talaga may ari nito ganon.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
we do have a question here, bro.
Mm.
From, by the way, Lost in the Mids. What up, Lost in
Oh
the
yeah.
Mids? So si Lost in the Mids, bro, alam mo naman, he's always active on our Discord office R. I'm really happy that you're here, Lost in the Mids. Ang name niya is Mechanical PH. I'm glad that you're here. And Mechanical PH, bro, meron tanong si Lost in the Mids. Sabi niya, for your processing the authenticity of those
Word pa rin ba yung
documents,
gas fees dyan? Yeah.
required pa rin ba yung gas fees or
Yeah.
is gas fee a different topic? So for those
Yeah.
who don't know, guys, yung gas fee is isipin mo para siyang transaction fee every time you interact with
With the
blockchain
blockchain.
technology. Ganun na lang siya.
Mm-hmm.
So, sabihin, ang tanong dito ni Mechanical is, may gastos ba or ano yung mangyayari kapag nag-interact ka with, let's say, a
Mm.
document blockchain integration? What do
Yeah.
you think, bro?
So it really depends sa ano on how they implemented yung blockchain itself. So if you're talking about public blockchains, right? So if let's say you used a public ledger talaga like Ethereum or main network chains, laging required yung gas fees. They will
Mm-hmm.
always require the gas fees for any transactions, and it's actually for a good reason. Like gas fees is basically the reward for nodes or for validators or for any nodes that are maintaining the integrity of the blockchain, right? To run their nodes to run their nodes and to ensure that the chain is up and always up and running. So you're basically incentivizing the validators. When you're paying a gas fee, right? Like high, medium, or low, you think of it like na parang you're incentivizing all of these validators. So yeah, if you're using a public blockchain, for sure you have to pay gas fees for any authentication or attestation. Really depends on your use case. So basically, kasi for verification, right? Like for authenticating lang, there is a technical solution for you not to announce or use sort of like to broadcast a transaction on the blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
Pag if you just want to look up, let's say for example, you already have the transaction hash of your docs, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
your authenticity, then you can always verify that on chain without any gas fees. You don't without any transactions. So you can
Mm-hmm.
just look up the chain and then okay, and dito pala yung transaction hash code, then you can use that to verify that if it exists or not. Pero if your model is you are attesting with other if your model is you have attestation, right? And then you have
Mm-hmm.
attestation contract that needs to be attested by other parties then, right? So they need to sort of interact with like
Mm-hmm.
through a contract. Then that
Mm-hmm.
means you have to pay a gas fee for each. So I guess like to summarize yung sinabi ni Christian earlier, like when you're interacting with the blockchain, you need a gas fee. But if you're not interacting with the blockchain, like let's say you're not like you're just looking up data, like you're just getting data, then you don't really need to interact you don't need a gas fee for that. And again, there's also a
Mm-hmm.
difference between public and private blockchains. So
Mm-hmm.
private blockchains they might kasi private meaning like they have their own like server,
Mm-hmm.
they have their own blockchain
You have
in
your
their
own
vicinity.
control
Yeah, they have their own
parameter.
control, which is to me like
Mm-mm.
it kind of defeats the purpose of why blockchain is why like
Mm.
of what blockchain is for. But it is possible. It's I think possible that you can set up your own private blockchain, and the
Mm.
owners of this private blockchain can disable the gas fees, right? So okay,
Mm.
like and then you can just start using it like
Mm.
without paying any fees or without paying any tokens.
Mm.
So
I would
yep,
say, no, if they disable gas fees, parang ano na siya eh. Parang Web2, tas ginamit mo lang yung data structure na yung
which is much more
pagka-block,
expensive. Yeah.
right? Kasi they have to subsidize
Mm.
all the operations na ano.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Yeah, and
a
then
really
you
good
need,
point. I
yeah,
like that.
and then you need to
Uh-uh.
like, yeah, you need to start like what, three nodes at least, right? Kasi kung one node lang, edi
Mm.
sana parang MongoDB
Like server ka na lang.
or
Yeah,
sana nag
no,
Oracle
get it.
database ka na lang, right? Or nag
Yes,
my
yes.
Postgres ka na lang, right?
I like that.
So
I like
yeah,
that.
so yeah, yeah.
Actually, I will. It got lost in thought, pero I was thinking of a really good ano kanina eh. Kasi
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to this question, ayun,
Mm-hmm.
naalala ko na. Si ICP kasi bro, di ba si if you're familiar with ICP,
Internet,
I,
yeah.
I, I built with ICP and the crazy part about ICP is what we call reverse gas fees. So
Mm-hmm.
ang ginawa ng reverse gas fee is that you take the responsibility of funding the operations that will occur with your smart contract or what we call your canister. And the
Mm-hmm.
crazy part about that is that I don't necessarily think that's a good idea because it doesn't align with self ownership.
So
But at the same time, I do see why ICP chose that. Kasi nga, one of the biggest pain point right now is yung gas fee, diba? They say, gas
mm.
fees are high, gas
so
wars, you
so
know.
I guess
So
like
what are your thoughts on
yeah,
that,
hindi
bro?
ko, I didn't get the canister, like, so does that mean na parang the user pays for the gas,
The
or what, like
developer pays for the gas ahead
developer
so that the
oh,
users,
developer ko, I
yeah.
mean, in a way,
So ni-reverse
in a,
nila yung responsibility. So I was
in a
like, what's your
way,
thoughts? In the context
well,
of tech startups, bro.
okay,
In the
actually
context,
that's I actually think that's a ano, to be like, to me, in my opinion, like, I think that's a good way to that's a good innovation, that's a good feature to have, kasi some of the developer use cases, right, they don't want their own users to, like, to think about tokens or fees, right? Especially Web 2
mm,
users na parang hindi pa familiar with blockchain, right? So,
mm,
kasi like early on, honestly, like mga 2016, 2018, like early on sa crypto, when I was just starting, it's one of those things na parang medyo nagiging hindrance eh. Kasi every time I build a dApp, I would need a fee, right? I would need a transaction fee, like a
mm,
token, right, to pay for the transactions. And the sense back then, like the sensible way is to, okay, I'm just gonna get the fee from the user, right? But the thing
mm,
is, like, new users, they don't even know what ano to token na to, but why do I need to connect to wallet?
mm,
Like, so parang
mm,
mataas na yung barrier of entry just because of that, and they haven't even tried the features yet of your dApp kasi parang they still think
mm,
about the token and all. If you have that type of feature where you can delegate, like, the fee payer, essentially here
mm,
the fee payer basically means a developer. So then developer can create a more authentic user experience,
mm,
right? Where users will just access the features without even thinking about the tokens. They can actually build like sort of like a payment
yeah.
system on top of it. Like, for example, if you're the developers, right, and you can build a Stripe type of, let's say talagang you require a payment, right, for the from the
Mm,
users. Kasi
mm,
you have to, like, you have to pay for the transaction fees eh. Then you can actually create a payment system on top, where maybe you can integrate Stripe, right, or PayPal. So ask the users to pay through these gateways, right, para
gets.
mas streamline.
Mm,
And
makes sense.
then on the developers end, like on your system, you can have like a denomination type of system
Mm,
where you can just convert those USD into tokens, right? And then these
yes,
tokens are the one
gets.
that's gonna. So actually, that type of innovation in a
Gets,
way
gets. Ang
makes
ganda.
sense.
Oo,
kasi
ganda.
parang
Mm-mm.
na ano mo eh, natanggal mo yung requirement to require the users to have tokens
To
eh.
think and
So
do the
that's
oh
good.
yeah
Yeah.
actually I really
So
like
it's
that
good.
point, bro eh.
Mm.
Kasi dati like when it comes to when it comes to blockchain kasi for
Mm.
the context I envision blockchain at least creating an open
Mm.
fully owned web wherein you manage your own identity, you manage your own data, you manage
Yeah.
your own assets. And with self-ownership, that means you need to manage your own fees as well. So parang ganun yung
Mm.
na-envision ko. But
Ah.
the way you put it, I really like that kasi although parang initially I thought it's against the self-ownership or
In a
yung
way,
parang
yeah. Pero yeah, yeah.
individualism or
Mm.
liberty or
Mm.
self-sovereignty. But I really like the way you put it kasi
Yeah.
giving that flexibility would allow you to have more users. Kumbaga, okay,
Mm.
it feels more natural. So,
Yeah.
tapos later on, pwede na lang nila i-swap ulit when it makes sense economically for the
Denomination. Yeah.
project.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
yeah,
love
it's
that.
it's it's a good lesson then. Like
I
it's a good
like that.
lesson for for everyone who's gonna start the Web3 tech startup. Be customer centric. Like be as customer centric as possible, and make sure, like, the assumption here is our customers are dumb. Like you have to give them the best possible support. You cannot
Mm,
sort of, to me, like, you cannot sort of assume that they would know all of these things, especially as a Web3.
mm.
You
Yeah.
cannot on the get go assume that everyone knows what a wallet is, that they would know like
Mm,
a token is, right? So remember that Web 2, we are all coming from Web 2, right? Even us, like as
mm,
technologists, we are Web 2
mm.
technologists. We don't know what a wallet is like 10 years ago. We don't know
Yeah.
what what a token is like, 10 years ago. So what more yung mga hindi talaga, they're not really even following the trends, right? They're done. So one of the lessons, honestly, for me, when I built my own startup was that I need to be customer centric, let the customer centric mindset, and I need to
Mm,
ensure that I have the best sort of solution for the customers to ensure that their experience is seamless, right? Seamless
mm,
experience for user experience is very important. Like a lot of innovations right now are, in a way, inisip nyo parang replica lang ng iba't ibang parang solutions, right? Ibang software.
mm.
Pero if you
That's a
think
good
about it,
point.
like the ones that are really good, like the ones that are like out that standing out are the ones with
Mm,
great user experience. A good example is
mm,
PayPal versus Stripe, honestly.
mm.
PayPal didn't have like a good sort of user experience and
Ang
developer
laki pa ng
experience
fees.
back
Oh
then.
my
Malaki pa
God.
ng fees. Pero when
PayPal
Stripe came
fees.
in, it's so easy, like a few lines of code and meron ka ng payment gateway. It was really really
Mm.
hard to create the payment gateway back then. Like hindi
Back
siya
then.
parang
Mm.
straightforward. Ngayon parang payments boom, parang pagka copy and paste mo nandiyan na siya. Like ang bilis lang.
Mm.
Stripe.
Tapos may mock
It's
cards
so
pa
good.
sila, bro, di
Like
ba? Like, you
yeah.
can use mock
Yeah.
cards that you can test.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So
Mm.
and like the kasi yung Stripe, the mindset about Stripe is very customer centric. Eh. They would always have I think a daily like call regarding customer issues, pain points, right? They're very
Mm.
customer centric in their approach. And
Mm.
that's what I think that's what we need, like in this space, in the Web3 space.
Mm.
Not the
Mm.
not the like highly technical token wallet.
Mm.
Like everyone wouldn't know that, right? So parang
Mm.
make sure when you're building something on the Web3, make sure that you're building a seamless user experience,
Mm.
Web2 user experience, and then
Mm.
para onboard them to Web3, right? So
Mm.
not just like Web3 on the get go. Now, okay, connect your MetaMask,
Mm.
connect your wallet. Like no one's
Actually,
gonna
bro, that's a
like
really
yeah.
good point, really good topic. Eh. When you mention the
Mm-hmm.
customer centric, so it's more about services and products in general, diba?
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is a good point wherein we can start talking what services or products can you really offer in Web3 as a tech startups, and then
Mm-hmm.
the meat and potatoes of that discussion that I want us to go over is something that I've been thinking about it for a long time when it comes to Web3 and blockchain. Is that the way businesses are built before, at least the way I learned it and the way I approach it, is that monopolizers actually win. Monopolizers, who people who get as much of the market as possible, they're the winners. Okay,
In a
we've
way.
seen that in history. That's how it works. Usually, that's their mindset to monopolize. So the control is on the entrepreneur or the businessman.
In a
However,
way,
the
yeah.
way I see it
Mm-hmm.
with Web3 is nagiging iba siya eh. It's like inversion of
Uh,
control. For example, when you launch a token, when you have a product, people will hold a certain stake with your company, and
mm-hmm.
then sila na they will dictate if your company is really worth it. They will dump
Mm-hmm.
your price if it's not worth it. I know some people are just there for the profits, but they will dump it pag feeling nila hindi okay yung fundamentals nito, hindi okay yung mga
Mm-hmm.
founders, and
Mm-hmm.
or they will support it if okay. So like
Mm-hmm.
it inverted the control.
Uh,
It begs the question then that when it comes to Web3 tech startups, what are the new business models that we can tap into? The new way of value capture,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, yeah, I mean, like, I guess yung example mo earlier about the inverted of inversion of control, or like, parang having having the community or having the people who bought the tokens have more control. It's good, right, to have that type of engagement. That, yeah, I mean, you have a lot of people that are invested onto the company, but at the same time, you need to have, like, to me, I believe, like, you need to still have someone who is a key decision maker on this organization, someone who is effectively going to create the roadmap, create the path on to where this company needs to go. Community driven is good. Like, you can always sort of create like a consensus, like you create like a consensus decision making with the community, to have some
Mm-hmm.
sort of inputs, rather than just like a small set of people only, like a board of directors.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, you need someone who is at the helm. So I think in terms of business model, that was like sort of the a difference between like the traditional monopolized sort of setup, where you have like a small set of board of directors only that's dictating the organization roadmap, versus right now with Web3. There is a mechanism, right? Like they call it the, DAO, right? Decentralized autonomous
Mm-hmm.
organization, or even like a small, like a token, or like the like, when you're building, when you're doing an ICO, where people are buying some stake or buying some tokens for your company. um they will have the model where they will have like, not it's not just like the decision making is not just from the small set, but also from like a larger set of people, right? Like the community itself, and for other and others. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a good point. It's actually, to me personally, I think that's the best. That's a better way. That's a good way for in any organization. I think that's the right path. Having some sort of decision making in a consensus manner is
Mm-hmm.
is is good. Get inputs from other people as much as possible when you're building the path or when you're building a roadmap for your company. But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, someone would need to execute it, right? So in a
Mm-hmm.
way, I wouldn't even say that parang it's equal, because, for example, if you're the company owner, right, you still need to execute those plans, right? You still need to be ensured that all of these goals, right, keep
I
KPIs
met.
and
Mm-hmm.
are met, right? So parang it's not even like equal. It's just that, okay, you're getting more input from the community, you're getting more
Mm-hmm.
parang consensus or voting from the company, and you as an owner, to me as an owner, you want to know what are those inputs are, right? Like, maybe they
Mm-hmm.
are valuable, right? Maybe they're good innovations, they're
Mm-hmm.
good ideas, right? So I think that's the trend that I'm seeing right now with like organization that I'm like working with right now, and I cannot really say their name for now, but they are very they have, so what basically they did is they have this massive following
Mm-hmm.
in the space, because they are promoting a very good like vision on terms of their products. But the founders, the key personnel, or the key decision makers, are always sort of open and always communicating with the community to ensure that
Mm-hmm.
every ideas and every innovation ideas are considered.
Mm-hmm.
And they are discussing that internally. They are doing some sort of due diligence if this is something that's possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, that's what I see the difference
Mm-hmm.
right now with the trend. And to me, I think that's better than the traditional, like, small set of people only
Mm-hmm.
that's saying, right? So
So,
yeah.
bro, the
Yeah.
the question I have in mind in
Mm.
relation to that is diba usually sa Web3 tech startups in general or companies is that the how do you say this? The fund to make things happen should come from somewhere. And traditionally, it's either you
VC.
bootstrap
Yep.
or you VC or you raise funds.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the way I see it, correct me if I'm wrong, is that my understanding, bro, some model that you see, at least you recommend would fit in the context of Web3 tech startups is that you will still raise money
Mm-hmm.
or bootstrap, So hindi kayo mag ICO route that you offer stake in exchange for
Mm.
valuation, and then you let people get involved so
Mm-hmm.
that they can provide as a community their insights. So kumbaga
Yep.
parang ano pa rin siya, traditional but with community
Yes.
aspect. Am I
Yes. Yeah.
correct? And
Yes. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. So you have to have
got it. Oo.
both. Like, kasi if you're building a Web3 startup, so you can still apply the same sort of
Mm-mm.
same process and same mechanism when
Mm-mm.
you're building Web3 tech startup. Like you either bootstrap or you get venture cap VCs, right? You get investors, right? And then you fill out like you fill out your I don't know your agreements, shareholdings and equity to them,
Mm-mm.
right? To get some investments, right? So that you can have like a like so they can have like a platform, right? You can start with, so you can bootstrap nga. But at the same time, you can also go that the route where okay, you're gonna launch an ICO or you're gonna launch a token, so that you can also promote and also engage your community, those who are like who thinks that who believes in what you're gonna do and what the product that you're gonna bring to the table, and then you can sort of utilize that for to build that product, right,
Mm.
that you were envisioning. So it's actually good kasi parang ngayon the blockchain itself, like the entire sort of the cryptocurrency like space itself has sort of introduced a new way of funding startups, and funding your ideas and funding your innovation. Because before it was really hard to get like okay bootstrap, like you have to have money, right? And then but
Mm.
parang when you're dealing with tech startup, when you're talking about tech startup, it can get very expensive, right? So and then you
Yeah.
at least need to have like a good runway. You need to have a runway that you can sustain the operations, right? And then you need
Yeah,
to have
servers pa lang, bro,
yeah servers, and then you
Infra
have
pa lang.
infra, and then you have to have cash flow at least para at least mabawi mo yung parang ano mo yung
Yeah,
ma-bootstrap mo later on. So
kahit
it's all
ma-break
about
even man lang for
yeah
the
so yeah
OpEx.
so
Mm.
like the journey itself, like parang yung runway mo dapat mahaba rin talaga for in terms of when you're building like the a tech startup, actually
Mm.
in general a tech startup. If you get investors, that's good kasi at least like okay, may someone believes in you, someone who has like money and believes in you, like okay, they can just invest money and then you can use that for your operations, right, until you get profitable, right? But
Mm.
now there's a new sort of way to do it, like ICOs, STO, even
Mm.
and then you can also you can also use the tokens sort of like to represent stakes or represent some
Mhm.
shareholdings or equities for these users, for this cost for these users, right? And then ang downside lang usually for that is I'm not even saying it's a downside, but you kasi there is a level of expectation that like these tokens, right, like similar to how equities are, they need to have a value eventually, right? So they
Mhm.
need to have some sort of sometimes the valuation of the company doesn't really like match with what the value of the token is, and sometimes yung token ng value sobrang taas pero hindi naman talaga ganun ka-valuable yung company. So it's like
Mm.
it's ganun eh. So you have to like
Speculative nature
yeah,
kumbaga, it
speculative,
really
yeah.
depends. Yeah,
It really depends on like what the nature of the or what's the current state of the market is then. So it's a so like you have to, as an owner, as a Web3 tech startup owner, it's really up your it's really your responsibility in a way to sort of
Mm.
know how to navigate this, right? So
Mm.
if you're introducing a token and then you're promising, not really promising, but you're if you're telling other people that parang this token is going to go up in value because of these use cases,
Mm.
this one use case two, use case three, then you have to at least like parang you need to you need to not really abide, but at least go to that direction where you can actually have a use case for for the token that you're selling, for the token
Mm.
that you sort of introduced, right? So if you're
Mm.
yeah so but if you're if you're but if you have like a bootstrap, like kung meron ka ng cash from investors, right, and
Mhm.
if there's an option not to do not to do the ICO, right, then by all means go do that, right? So it's kasi parang mas importante talaga yung yung maging profitable yung company, maging like
Mm.
magkaroon ka ng parang cash flow eventually. ICOs are like investments, right? It's not cash
Mhm.
flow. So some people think na parang I met a few like ICO or like I don't know, like investors or people who are doing ICOs na they think na parang, oh, they did an ICO and then parang ito na
Nanalo
yung
na,
parang
no?
ito na yung
Pumaldo
parang
na daw.
cash o
No
parang ito na yung
way.
parang flow. No, no, hindi. Kasi parang you were given like money to operate. This is like your this is your like parang bootstrap. This is going to be your like,
Responsibility.
oh yeah, it's your responsibility na parang to to take care of this your war chest mo basically. So it's not
Mm-mm.
income, it's not revenue. So the goal is to make money, is to be profitable. And
Mm-mm.
kasi profitability means that someone ano is tied to value, right? So if you
Mm-mm.
are creating a valuable startup or a valuable solution, then someone is going to be willing to pay for it, right?
Mm-mm.
And if you're gonna willing to pay for it, then and then you're gonna earn profits, right? So that's
Mm-mm.
that's the that's the ultimate sort of parang that's the ultimate sign of that you are making you are valuable, eh. Like if you sort of if you make money, or if you manage to monetize what you are
Mm-mm.
providing, right, then that means okay, yeah, you are onto something, like you are valuable.
Mm.
So I know, like parang in a way, like in an idealistic world, like people don't want to focus on money because they want to focus on impact. But why can't you
Mm.
focus on both, right? Like, or focus on impact, make an impact, learn as much as possible, like learn the tech, build your solution, but make sure that you are also thinking about monetizing what you've built, right?
Mm.
What you make profit from what you are building. So make sure that
True. True.
parang it's not just about the money, but you're also going to use this money
You need it.
to continue your
Yeah.
operation, to
Mm.
to have to ensure that you're doing because for example, if this is a hobby, right, if this is something that you're really passionate about, then think of it like this is the money that you're going to use to fund your passion, right?
Mm.
So parang yeah, so yun, like it's one of those things that I would like advise
Mm.
other people.
It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
So since we're there, bro, no,
Mm,
it allows me to reflect and think back and go back to this moment wherein when I was building Volcanic Labs back then, right, tech consulting
mm.
company, what I realized then was that you really need to think about money
Sure. Yeah.
first over impact because you need it to be the best version of yourself, to be not
Mm,
desperate, to be rational with your decisions. So
yeah.
I started Volcanic Labs. Akala ko the first thing you need to do is to be what we call a starving founder, starving startup. Yung parang you don't pay yourself. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
that's what they call it. You starve yourself of
Oh.
a payment.
Mm-hmm.
I won't pay myself first. But I realized later on that you gotta
Okay.
pay yourself first,
Yeah.
because not because you don't love your work, you don't care about your employees, but because if you're desperate, the amount of suffering your company goes through, or the amount of inefficiencies your company goes through because you're desperate, you need to focus on something else because you don't
Mm.
have the money, you need to grind for other work. It hurts your startup
Yeah.
in
Yep.
orders of magnitude, compared to, let's say, you you just take the money. Okay, you lost what, 40,000, 50,000 in a month, but in a way you empowered yourself. Now, okay, I'll put my time to full time do this, so I don't have to hustle anymore because I have runway. At least I have 50K
Mm.
per month, right?
Yeah.
So what's your
Yeah.
thoughts on that, bro? Since
It's
we're
like
in a
yeah.
we're
I can
in this topic na rin na
yeah.
startups, business models, and foundership.
Yeah,
What
it's
do you
like
think? What's your take on that?
I agree with yung sinabi mo. I think like to me the first thing I thought about is like just a practical mindset, right? If you're building a business, if you're building something, like I say, your business is from your passion, right? Because you've started
Mm.
Volcanic Labs because tech is your passion, right? Like it to me it makes sense na parang you have to think about the money aspect kasi you have to fund your passion at some point, eh.
Mm.
Yung grinding, you mentioned na parang, oh, you're willing to sacrifice that you're, na hindi ka paid, ganyan. Hindi ka paid, or you're not gonna get paid because of, I guess like, like, I don't know. Pero I was like that before. Na parang, okay, maybe I have to do this kasi this is the way to do this, right? Maybe this
Mm.
is like,
This
this is
is
how I
the
need, because
way.
I need to experience this, right? Pero ngayon, now that I think about it, like in a way, there are just so much, like lots of avenues right now, lots of opportunities to raise funds, to get funding from different avenues. I know it's easier said than done, pero if you can, like as much as you can, like don't uh in my opinion, don't don't get funding, get the get the funding and don't work for free.
Mm.
Don't work for free. If you can, like if you have a business model, right? If you're running a business, if you're creating a business, first make sure that you are if make sure that there is going to be like a case where it's going to be profitable. Second,
Mhm.
if you can fund it, right? If you can like ask money to investors, get like get some people to invest on it, or get some people to fund your venture, then do it. Then try doing that first, right? Kasi nga yun
Mm.
nga na mention mo, you're gonna be stressing about money. You're not gonna be
Mm.
you're gonna be indecisive. You're not
Mm.
gonna be 100% executing this
Mm.
kasi you'll know that okay, wala akong cash flow right? So you need to be in a
Mm.
way, you need to be practical, right?
Mm.
So parang you need to make sure that you're earning something while doing. So a lot of like ako, I started like where I did this as a side gig. So that means I'm still sort of employed, and
Mm.
then I'm just sort of funding yung startup ko with kung ano yung nakukuha
The
ko sa
payment.
sa employment ko, right? So ganun siya.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So ganun siya. So isip ko parang okay, I don't need to think about like, the payment kasi parang I'm getting
Mm.
funded kasi meron akong employment, and then I can just, fund it. And
Fun
then,
that.
and then to the point yeah, and then, and then you get to a point na it's gonna be profitable. You're
Mhm.
gonna have a business model. You're gonna have a product that's gonna be profitable, and eventually you can either quit your job or just run your own sort of consulting, right?
Mm.
Run your own like business. Ganun din
Mm.
ako nag-start, honestly, like nung full-time employment, FTE. I'm not doing
Mm.
IC work before kasi parang the perception was that it's safer to have a permanent job, or
Mm.
or like a full-time FTE role. But yeah, I found a business model where you can just do an IC work, subcontract, and then do a subcontracting sort of way to do that, and then like fund your startup through that, and then on the
Mm.
side create your own like products, right? Build your own products, and that's what sort of
Mm.
we are doing right now. Honestly,
Mm.
with the
Yeah, I love
with
that.
our data, yeah.
Mm.
So it's kind of like, so yeah, so I didn't need to bootstrap, didn't need an ICO in a way, didn't need to fund it, investors, I didn't need investors. But yeah, for people who are yeah, starting, just be practical. When you're starting a business, try to think about the profitability, monetization, like
Mm.
monetization aspect. Not just the impact is there, of course. Like if you have an idea, you believe in it, like I think as in meron kang innovative idea, like go for it, pero make sure that you're also incorporating yung monetization and profitability
Mm.
onto your plans. Yeah.
Mm.
Yan.
Yun. I love that. Because there's a lot of founders
Mm-hmm.
who need to learn that. Na
Yeah.
every decision you make or every time that you have is actually an order of magnitude as an impact to your company. So
Mm-hmm.
paying yourself first empowers you to unlock that
Yep.
order of magnitude of time that you have in exchange for what? A certain amount of money lang for a month, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
love that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Siguro,
Yeah.
bro, since we're in the 8:55 mark, we can ask for questions, guys. If you have questions, once again, Web3 Philippines has this program called Web3 Classroom that you are here right now. It happens every Thursdays, 8 p.m. Philippine Standard Time, and our goal is to educate people about Web3 as much as we can and provide insights from professionals and blockchain engineers in the field working in Web3. So before we go, bro, we have 5 more minutes left,
Mm-hmm.
bro. Alvin, so I'll give you the floor. Is there anything you want to share? Anything you want to please let the people know or plug
uh
while we're here? Because before we shut down the classroom.
oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I encourage everyone who is starting a tech startup to look into Web3 specific startups. There's just a lot of market demand and opportunity for these types of startups, and it's primarily because it's hard. It's not hard, but it's unique, right? In a way, it's hard and it's unique. There's gonna be a lot of work to do to
Lots.
enter the
Oh my
space, lots of
god.
work, and then it's not gonna be a traditional sort of Web 2 work. Lots of complex stuff when it comes to integrating Web 2 and Web 3, but it's very fruitful if you tap onto it. So if you really tap a product that actually makes an impact, that actually be very useful to the users.
Mhm.
So to me, I encourage anyone to explore this. If you want to build a business, of course, you can let me know, or you can sort of, I'm open to sort of have a conversation if you want to have an advice on how to run a business, on run how to run a Web 3 business. I'm like, decentralized storage, identity, any blockchain. I'm open to that. So yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess to me, I just want to encourage everyone to start their own. Like, if you're not gonna start now, then when are you gonna start, right? So, like, um, grab the opportunity, learn as much as you can, and yeah, I mean, just uh, good luck with your Web 3 startup. Yeah,
Yun. So,
yeah.
guys, it has been a wonderful effort for you to attend our session when it comes to Web3 Classroom. Thank you, Alvin, for sharing your insights, sharing your knowledge, sharing your expertise to the world and to our students today. Ang ating mga bidlers, right? We call them bidlers. What's up, bidlers? Now, at the end of our session, the OTP for our Web3 engineering candidates who are currently watching right now, the OTP for our session this week is Alvin. Okay? The OTP is Alvin. I know you were expecting it to be a slider at the bottom. No, yung slider na ganyan. No, it's not. The OTP is Alvin. So, attach that to
Mm.
your emails because for us to know that you've been here. Okay? So, thank you guys. Thank you, Alvin, once again. See you
Thanks.
again next week. Go back to Thursdays, 8 p.m. PHT
Right.
to the Web3 Classroom, ask your questions. And before Thursday come, do your work, research, study as much as you can about Web3 so you have questions to ask. Thank you, Alvin. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
See you next
Thank
week.
you. Thanks.
Bye. All right. Oh,
Are we
no.
good?
I think we're still.
We're good na ba?
Diba? We're still live. We're still live.
Or is it live? Okay.
We're still live. All right, guys. If you guys see us, comment and share our stream today so people will see it. Okay. Thank you, guys. Bye bye.